Welcome to Star Guys, a podcast about Stargirl on DC Universe and the CW. I'm Alex.
I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
And this is the bonus episode for Shiv Part Two. Now, normally, or at least at the beginning of the show, we were giving you back a little bit of extra time that you missed from the DC Universe airing to the CW airing. As it is now, they've pretty much evened up. This episode was about 40 minutes long, so it's all good. It all fits in the time, whether it was commercials or not. You know what I'm talking about, buddy?
Yes.
Yeah,
Love some commercials.
I'm glad. I don't like it when they cut things, you know?
Yeah, well, they're not cutting anything. That's the good thing. But we're still giving you a bunch of time back. We're still going to talk about some stuff around the episode, things happening in the world of Stargirl. Yeah, what's up, Pete?
One thing I would like to know, is there any information that you do during your day job that you would like to brag about that is related to Stargirl?
I'm not bragging about it,
I'm
Pete.
so glad you asked that, Pete. Yes. Well, I think the real thing we talked about doing for this bonus episode is a deep dive into what we think Pizza Palooza bites taste like, and what the caloric content is of each.
Oh man, the calorie count is going to be high.
I'm going to go to our expert on this. Are they Pete Palooza bites or are they Pizza Palooza bites?
Pizza Palooza bites. So we got to think about it. All right. So if a Pop-Tart has 410 calories, right? Pizza bite. I mean, what are we thinking? You know, like 370 in that?
Pop-Tarts have 410 calories?
It's crazy you just dropped that. Talk about a flex. Pete, you're flexing your Pop-Tart knowledge right now from your day job.
Who doesn't know about Pop-Tarts?
Pete flexing his day job, knowing about Pop-Tarts, really in our faces.
Pete, is it true you're not allowed to go into the Pop-Tart factory anymore because you caused that mix-up that one time?
Yeah, mix-up is a good word for it. I tried stealing a lot of Pop-Tarts.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm thinking of the fruit roll-up factory.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or they like put the frosting on the inside or something, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like a hilarious mix-up.
Yeah.
Sure. There were a couple of people I talked to at my day job having to do with Stargirl over the past week. This is mostly for Shiv Part 1, but I ended up talking to Yvette Monreal, who plays Yolanda Montez on the show. She was great. One of the things that I talked to her about that has been clear with every single cast member of the show, which I think is A, so nice, and B, everybody says all the time, but you could tell when they're faking, and I don't think they're faking here. The entire young cast, at least, hangs out all the time.
Yeah, I love that. I think you said that maybe in our last bonus, that they all lived, or when we were talking to Dragon King, that they all lived together and like were hyper bonded during the production of this. Like, that's so fun and cute for this show.
Did you talk to her about like boxing and stuff, and like, is she into it? Like,
well, here's something that you'll like in particular. At the end, I don't know if you know this, but she was one of the female leads in Rambo: Last Blood.
Oh yeah.
And so I asked her, is she going to get Sylvester Stallone on the show? And we joked about it a little bit, but she was like, yeah, he did This Is Us. He was on Milo Ventimiglia's show. And, of course, he did one of the Rocky movies, Milo Ventimiglia. So he's like, yeah, we've got to get him to come on the show.
It's not one of the Rocky movies. It's fucking Creed, man.
Milo Ventimiglia was in Creed?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I don't remember that.
Oh, my God.
Anyway.
I think we remember him from Heroes, obviously.
Yes.
Milo.
Yes, Milo. Good old Milo. That's what I named my son after, is Milo Ventimiglia. Anyway, the thing that I think you'll particularly
by the way.
Pete, is she was like, we got to get him to be Ted Grant because Ted Grant is a boxer.
My God.
Great call.
That's
bananas.
Amazing. And then she brought up, and I looked this up, and you guys who are listening, you can look this up online. There is a picture from 1985 with a young Sylvester Stallone wearing a shirt that says Wildcat on it.
Whoa, that's very cool.
Awesome. So it kind of feels
they
like
could just use that in the show.
Yeah, there you go. Just put up the picture. That's fine. It's all good.
But did you talk to her about, like, is she boxing training? Is she like getting into it? You know, like, where's she at with her boxing skills?
Pete, you and I have different interview priorities.
And as
Did you ask her at all about her boxing?
No, we mostly talked about the last episode, and we talked a little bit about the family stuff. She feels like they're not going to go back to that this season. Her family shutting her down.
Yes.
That's not something they're going to revisit. She's moved on with her JSA family. Also, obviously, there's some unresolved stuff with Henry, but that's something that she's also moved past and moved beyond. So that's what I was interested in, not the boxing training.
I would love a head-to-head interview sesh, Alex versus Pete, with some sucker who you guys both interview, and we run the tape back. I'll do the breakdown. I'll go point for point between each question.
Oh my God.
The other one that I talked to Leah Thompson, who directed last week's episode.
Cool.
Were you intimidated?
I wasn't intimidated. It was definitely one from a nostalgic perspective that I was excited to talk to her, and I did open up with a couple of Back to the Future questions.
Come on.
You gotta.
If you didn't do that, I would have fucking quit the show. I mean,
here's the thing. Like, I struggle with that sort of thing because I don't want to, dwell on that. I want to concentrate on the project. But like, we're taping this. July 3rd is the 35th anniversary of Back to the Future. So I felt like I would be negligent in my duties as an interviewer if I didn't ask her something about it. And in fact, Jeff Johns, the showrunner of Stargirl, very specifically screened Back to the Future for the entire cast before they started filming Stargirl so that they could get the tone he was going for the show.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, so I asked her about that. I was like, did they nail the tone? And she said, well, they're very different shows, but you got the sci-fi element, you got the family aspects, you got the big action, you mix all that stuff together. So in terms of that, they brought it together. And she also mentioned that in the writing offices, there is a picture, there's a fake Back to the Future poster with Jeff Johns doing the watch thing on the poster instead of Michael J. Fox. So there you go.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, it was very cool talking to her. We talked a little bit about the action sequence that was towards the end, the big fight between Shiv and Stargirl.
Right.
And it was interesting to hear her mention that initially it was like just bland is probably the wrong word, but they hadn't necessarily scripted like that. But she felt like she hadn't directed a superhero show before. She hadn't directed a big action sequence like that. They had that record in the middle of the room. So why not do a shot that's just spinning around the record like that where they're fighting? And they had to do that part first because there was so much wire work involved and it was so hard on the stunt woman that the stunt coordinator was basically like, get that out of the way. Have their muscles get worn out, and then we'll do the simpler stuff after that.
Yeah,
which I thought was kind of a neat detail.
That's cool.
So there you go. That's my celebrity interviews for the week, Pete.
Did you talk to her about like
her fucking boxing training or what? What do you want to know?
I just was wondering about like her favorite part about like directing, like what she really like tries to do when she's behind the.
She said comedy actually, which I thought was interesting.
Nice!
Because she. I don't think it was Secret Life of an American Teenager. Switched at Birth. She was on this ABC family show called Switched at Birth. Directed a couple of episodes of that. Directed a bunch of episodes of The Goldbergs. And then she directed an episode of Katie Keene before she directed Stargirl. Yeah. And she was very clear about like she loves directing all the aspects of it. She loves doing all the stuff. But if she can meet a cast that can sell a joke, that to her she feels like is the most important thing because
Mikey
that's the
is
hardest skill
comedy
to do.
Gold, so
yeah, she didn't say that, which was weird. But
Yeah,
she said
it
the
is
whole
weird.
cast. The whole
Mikey is the Michael J. Fox of the show. I mean, there's just no question.
Wow, that is truly. I don't know exactly what you mean by that. Are you talking like a family tie situation?
No, I'm just saying that, like, the way, really, regardless of what's happening, everybody's thinking about, what is Mike doing? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is his...
I'll tell you what, when it comes to Mikey, Pete, you're living in Spin City.
Yes.
So there was a couple of other things we wanted to talk about here on the podcast before we start to wrap up with the bonus. Justin, you wanted to talk about like visually, just show how the show is hitting right now.
Well, jumping off on just talking about the directing of the show, I do think this show does a great job of at least once an episode having a shot or a moment that I think is truly very unique or different from other superhero shows. And there are, like, I'm trying to think of some of my favorites. The shot from a couple episodes back where the gambler flips the coin and we see the coin from above and follow it into the guy's hand. Like, that was very cool. The way that in this episode that we saw Courtney just out of nowhere just like flash across the shot to get Shiv to kick off the fight sequence. Like, I think I don't know if that's a directive coming from the show, but like the way they are like, let's push it at least once in every episode. It really makes a difference.
I feel like that's something that a lot of the DC shows strive for in their first season in particular. Like, it's something that I really felt I remember the first season of The Flash, first season of Supergirl did that. And the trick, I think, is keeping it going, because I love The Flash. I'm still a big fan of the show. I thought the last season was great, but they hit this formula where everybody kind of stands around and talks, and then the Flash shoots up. He gets beaten pretty quickly after not really doing anything. And then by the end of the episode, there's another big action sequence where he runs really quickly and then beats the villain. And both of those things usually last 2 to 3 minutes over the course of the episode. So in the first season, they were able to dazzle, and then things, at least action-wise, downhill is probably too strong, but certainly weren't quite as strong.
Yeah, plateaued. It feels like more of a melodrama. That reminds me of the Hourman shot where the Hourman scene where they're doing the Dr. Midnight glasses project the car going through. Mm-hmm. Like, that was just such a
80s,
visual,
like 3D style.
Yeah. Such a visually
well, I think
strong
to
moment.
Your point, that's the thing that's making these episodes work right now, is it's not the dazzling visual thing isn't necessarily the action sequences, though they are. There are other shots and other pieces of direction that they're aiming for to try to make it feel more filmic at the same time.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Pete, there was something you wanted to talk about as well. What was that?
I don't remember.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, how about...
Nice. Is there anything you would like to talk about?
Well, I just think that, like, we're 8 episodes in, and so far as a show, I've been really impressed with not only the actors, but their kind of the way they're telling a story. And it seems like they're really learning from a lot of the shows that came before it. And I've been really impressed with this show. I didn't know how I would do with it, but I've been pretty impressed with it.
So you're saying it's just better than Arrow?
No. Why would Arrow? The reason there's this show is because of Arrow. All right, Arrow led the way. Arrow laid groundwork for all the other shows.
Can you do a quick ranking between like Arrow, Stargirl, and Pizza Palooza rolls?
That's impossible. I mean, how could you choose between Pizza Palooza rolls and Arrow?
Yeah, that is very true. They're very similar because they're like a little too hot inside and burn your mouth, but then they're cold in other places, and you're like, choose a lane, buddy, you know?
It's like eating poison.
No.
All right. Thank you for listening to our bonus episode and hearing us rattle on about stuff. Next week on Bonus, we'll probably do a deep dive into Brainwave, I'm guessing, and Brainwave Jr., because that's his big episode, as well as, of course, having a regular Monday recap podcast, or what?
Or we'll probably just do a deep dive about like what it's like to work at your job and how great it is and how it's just really just so sweet being you.
Oh, thanks. I mean, if you want to do that, I'm happy to talk about it forever, Pete.
Yes. Okay. I want to know more about like the office supplies, the paper clips.
Well, I'll tell you what, right now, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I bet.
If you would like to support our show, patreon.com/Comic Book Club. Also, we do a live show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. to Crowdcast and YouTube. Come talk about Stargirl with us. iTunes, Android, Spotify, Stitcher, or the app of your choice to subscribe and listen to the show. Star Guys Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. comicbookclublive.com for this podcast and more. For the Star Guys, see you next time.